Lena stood beside her daughter Maya as they pulled up in front of her parents' house. The scent of paint and sawdust hit her before she even turned the key. That smell, too sharp, too fresh, told her money had been spent but not in a way she'd approved. 11-year-old Maya jumped out of the car, clutching her music folder and rosin tin. She couldn't wait to see her cello, the one her great-grandmother had given her. Lena smiled weakly, trying not to let her stomach twist. Something about today already felt wrong. They walked up the driveway, the sound of drills humming faintly in the background. Maya's ponytail bounced as she walked, excitement spilling out of her like light. "Mom, are they fixing the music room?" she asked, hopeful. Lena forced a smile. "Maybe," she said, even though she knew her parents weren't the type to fix anything without an audience. Inside, the hallway was covered in tarps, the air thick with the smell of primer. Cardboard boxes were stacked along the walls, and a strip of blue tape blocked off the entrance to the back rooms. Maya tiptoed past them, whispering, "It looks like a museum." Lena called out, "Mom?" No answer. The sound of power tools stopped somewhere deeper in the house. Maya pressed her face against the glass of the back window and gasped. "Whoa." Lena followed her gaze and felt her chest tighten. The backyard was torn apart, giant piles of dirt, concrete forms, and pipes everywhere. It wasn't just a repair job. It was an in-ground pool, brand new and extravagant. "Is that for us?" Maya asked softly. Lena swallowed. "I don't know, honey," she said carefully. "Let's go get your cello first." They made their way down the hall to the music room, once her grandmother's sacred space. It had always been neat, quiet, and full of warmth, like the air itself respected the music. Maya adored that room. She said it smelled like polish and peppermint tea. Lena opened the door slowly. The humidifier still hummed in the corner. The music stand was still there. But the cello, Maya's cello, was gone. Not moved. Not stored. Gone. Maya froze. Her lips parted but no sound came out. She stepped forward, her small hand trembling as she touched the empty spot where the case should have been. "Did great-grandma change her mind?" Maya whispered. Her voice was so soft it barely reached the air. Lena's throat tightened. "No, sweetheart," she said, barely able to get the words out. "Then where is it?" Maya asked, still calm but shaking slightly. She touched the side of the stand like she could will the cello back into existence. When her fingers met nothing but air, she pulled back like she'd been burned. "It's okay," Lena murmured, trying to steady her voice. "We'll find out." But inside, dread was already building, cold and certain. Something terrible had happened and she already knew who was behind it. Lena left Maya standing in the music room and marched straight to the kitchen. Her mother was there, of course, in her usual spot by the counter with a mug in one hand and her phone in the other. Her hair was pulled back neatly, the way she wore it when she wanted to look busy without doing anything. Her father sat at the table with his tablet, pretending to scroll through news he didn't care about. And on a stool by the island was her sister, Rose, sipping a bright green smoothie that probably cost more than Lena's weekly groceries. "Where's Maya's cello?" Lena asked. Her voice cut through the hum of the refrigerator. Her mother didn't even look up right away. "Good morning to you too," she said finally, taking another sip. Lena didn't smile. Her father sighed without looking up. "What's the problem now?" Lena gripped the counter. "The cello," she repeated, slower this time. "Where is it?" Rose snorted. "Oh, please," she muttered, still looking at her phone. Lena's heart pounded. Her mother finally glanced at her father and said casually, "Your dad handled it." "Handled it?" Lena echoed. "What does that even mean?" Her father finally looked up, his tone calm, almost bored. "We sold it." The words hit her like a slap. "You what?" she said, too stunned to blink. "We sold it," he repeated like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "It was valuable just sitting there collecting dust. Your grandmother wasn't even using it." Lena's hands shook. "It wasn't hers," she said quietly. "It was Maya's." Rose laughed, short and cruel. "She's 11, Lena. What does an 11-year-old need with an antique cello worth that much?" Lena stared at her sister, then at her parents. "You sold her cello to pay for what?" she demanded. Her mother gestured lazily toward the window. "We're putting in a pool," she said as if it were self-explanatory. "For the children." Lena blinked. "The children?" Her mother smiled tightly. Ben and Olivia deserve something nice. Ben and Olivia. Rose's kids. Of course. And Maya doesn't? Lena said. Her father rubbed his temple. Don't start with that tone, he said. Maya will be fine. You can rent her another one. Those words, "she'll be fine," made Lena's stomach turn. Lena leaned forward, her voice low but steady. You didn't have the right to sell it. Her father shrugged. It was a family asset, he said, like that made it moral. It belonged to the family and we made a family decision. A family decision? Lena repeated. You mean a decision made without me? Rose rolled her eyes. You always act like everything's some big betrayal. It's just a cello. Lena laughed once harshly. It's not just a cello. It's her connection to Grandma. It's her dream. Her mother's voice hardened. Emily, do not tell your grandmother. Lena stared. Oh, I will, she said. You can count on that. Lena turned away from her mother before the fury in her chest could turn into words she couldn't take back. She walked down the hall, her footsteps echoing against the hardwood floor. In the music room, Maya was still standing in the same spot, her hand hovering near the empty corner where her cello used to be. She looked up when Lena came in, her eyes too calm for an 11-year-old who had just lost something irreplaceable. Did they find it? She asked softly. Lena knelt down beside her. No, sweetheart, she said, forcing a steady tone. But we will. Maya nodded slowly, the way kids do when they're pretending to understand adult disasters. She didn't cry. She just sat down on the stool near the music stand and looked at her fingers, pressing them together like she was still holding the bow. Maybe great-grandma wanted someone else to have it, she whispered. The thought shattered Lena's heart. No, baby, Lena said, taking her hand. That cello was yours. Grandma gave it to you because she believed in you. Maya looked at her mother for a long moment, then said, It doesn't feel like it. That broke Lena completely. That evening at home, Maya practiced on a scratched-up student cello her teacher kept for emergencies. The sound was dull and thin, but Maya didn't complain. She adjusted her posture, tuned again, and played through her scales. Each note sounded like a bruise. Lena stood in the doorway, pretending to be casual, though her chest ached with every bow stroke. Maya finally stopped, her small shoulders rising and falling. It's okay, she said softly. I can still practice. You shouldn't have to, Lena whispered, but Maya just nodded, determined to make it work anyway. That determination scared Lena more than anything. Later that night, after Maya had gone to bed, Lena sat at the kitchen table staring at her phone. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Don't tell your grandmother. It wasn't a warning about stress. It was an order to protect their lie. Lena realized then how often she'd swallowed her anger just to keep the peace. How she taught Maya, without meaning to, that being quiet was safer than being right. Not this time. She opened her contacts and tapped Grandma June's name. Her finger hovered over the call button for a long moment. Then she pressed it. The next morning, Lena drove to Grandma June's assisted living apartment. The building smelled like lemon polish and fresh linen. Grandma was sitting in the lounge, her posture straight, her silver hair pinned neatly. When she saw Lena's face, she set her teacup down. Tell me, she said simply. Lena sat beside her and told her everything. The empty music room, the pool, the sale, her parents' words. Grandma didn't interrupt once. When Lena finished, she only asked one question. And Maya? She thinks you changed your mind, Lena whispered. Grandma's eyes turned sharp and cold. Then it's time they learned whose house they live in. Grandma June leaned back in her chair, her face calm but her eyes burning with quiet fire. Do you remember the paperwork I showed you years ago? She asked. Lena frowned. The cello appraisal? Yes, Grandma said. Appraisal, photographs, insurance, everything. I didn't just keep it for sentimental reasons. That cello is registered, documented, and protected. They didn't sell an instrument, they sold evidence. Lena blinked. What do you mean? Grandma smiled faintly. It means the man who bought it is about to get a very unpleasant phone call. She reached for her phone with steady hands. Let's see how fast they regret this. Lena sat there in awe, watching her grandmother dial. June spoke with quiet authority, her tone calm but absolute. It wasn't rage, it was precision. She asked for the buyer by name, confirmed the serial number, and within minutes the situation began to unravel. The buyer had thought he'd made a legal purchase. Now he realized he hadn't. June's lawyer friend Mr. Carter joined the call, explaining the trust details that no one in the family had known existed. "They'll get their money back," June said afterward, "but your parents will have to answer for fraud." Lena swallowed. "You already planned for this, didn't you?" June's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I've known your parents too long not to." By the end of the call, Lena felt something she hadn't felt in years, relief mixed with justice. Grandma June closed her phone gently. "Now," she said, "you'll let me handle the rest. And you'll tell Maya she did nothing wrong." Lena nodded, tears pressing at the corners of her eyes. "She blames herself," she admitted. "She thinks she shouldn't have left it here." June sighed. "Children always think they cause the storms adults make. That ends now." Her voice softened. "Bring her tomorrow. I want to see her face when I tell her the truth." Lena nodded, her throat too tight to speak. The next morning Lena and Maya drove back to see Grandma June. Maya sat quietly in the passenger seat, her small fingers tracing invisible notes on her knee. When they arrived, Grandma was waiting in the courtyard, dressed sharply as always, like a woman who never surrendered her dignity. "Come here, love," she said, opening her arms. Maya ran into them, hugging her tightly. June looked down at her. "You didn't lose your cello, sweetheart. It was taken." Maya blinked up at her. "You mean I didn't do anything wrong?" "Not a thing," June said. "And don't worry, it's coming back home soon." That afternoon June made one more phone call, this time to Lena's parents. "We'll be having a little gathering," she said, her voice firm. "Saturday, 2 o'clock. Backyard." Her tone left no room for refusal. "We'll all talk then." Lena could almost hear her mother's confusion through the phone. "Mom, what is this about?" "It's about a lesson overdue," June said simply. When she hung up, she turned to Lena and smiled. "If they think a pool can wash away their guilt, they've forgotten who taught them to swim." Lena smiled for the first time in days. "You're really going to do it, aren't you?" June nodded. "Oh yes, dear. And we'll do it in front of everyone." Saturday came hot and bright, the kind of day that made everything shimmer like it was showing off. Lena parked at the curb outside her parents' house, her hands tight on the steering wheel. Maya sat beside her, wearing her swimsuit under her sundress just in case. Hope was stubborn that way. "Do you think great-grandma will really come?" she asked softly. "She said she would," Lena replied. "And when Grandma June says something, she means it." They stepped out of the car and walked toward the backyard. The sound of laughter floated through the air, the splash of water, the smell of grilled food, like nothing ugly had ever happened there. The backyard looked like a magazine spread. The pool sparkled blue under the sunlight, surrounded by brand new chairs, umbrellas, and a pergola wrapped in string lights. Rose was laughing too loudly near the grill while her husband flipped burgers like he was on a cooking show. Ben and Olivia splashed around, shrieking with joy, the kind of joy that came easy when the world had always told you it was yours. Lena's mother stood near the cooler with a drink in hand, her practiced smile already in place. When she spotted Lena, the smile tightened. "You came," she said coolly. "Of course," Lena said. "You invited us." Maya stood close to her mother, towel clutched in her arms. Rose glanced over, her tone honeyed and sharp. "Maya, you look adorable. Did you bring your new cello?" She laughed at her own joke before anyone else could. Lena's jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. Her father clapped his hands together. "All right, everyone, before we eat, let's raise a glass to the family," he announced. "We've been through a lot, and this pool, this whole space, is proof that when we come together we make beautiful things." Applause scattered around the yard. Lena's stomach turned. They were celebrating theft like it was an achievement. And then, right on cue, the gate clicked open. Conversations stilled. Heads turned. Grandma June stepped inside wearing a crisp white blouse, slacks, and sunglasses that somehow made the air go still. She wasn't alone. Walking beside her was Mr. Carter, her lawyer, carrying a folder under one arm. "Well," June said pleasantly, her voice carrying easily over the quiet, "you've certainly been busy." Her daughter's smile faltered. "Mom," she said, her tone fake bright, "we didn't expect you." "Clearly," June replied. "But I wouldn't miss such a grand display of generosity." She looked around slowly, her eyes landing on the pool like she was inspecting a bad investment. Rose crossed her arms. "Mom, this is a family party, not one of your meetings." Good, June said calmly. Then you'll all be comfortable. She turned slightly, looking at Lena and Maya. You two come stand with me. Lena moved instantly, her heart thudding. Maya's small hand slipped into hers. June faced the crowd again. I heard there's been some confusion about ownership, she said. So let's clear that up. Her voice was even, precise. The cello you sold, she paused, letting the words hang, was held in trust for Maya. You sold something you never owned. The silence was instant, heavy and complete. Lena's mother blinked, her drink trembling slightly in her hand. Mom, what are you talking about? She asked, forcing a shaky laugh. June tilted her head. I'm talking about the cello, Carol, she said evenly. The one you sold for $87,000. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Someone set down a glass. Carol tried to recover. We didn't mean any harm, she said. You just decided you could take something that wasn't yours, June interrupted, her tone cutting but calm. You told everyone not to upset me, but what you really meant was, don't tell me the truth. Her words landed like stones in still water. Lena's father straightened, his face red. Let's not do this in front of everyone, he said quietly. June smiled coldly. You had no problem humiliating my great-granddaughter. We'll stay right here. She gestured toward Mr. Carter, who opened the folder with a soft rustle of papers. This, June said, is the legal trust one established 10 years ago. I am the trustee. Maya is the beneficiary. The cello was documented, insured and registered under her name. You sold property that didn't belong to you. Carol's face drained of color. We didn't know, she stammered. June nodded once. Ignorance is no defense, dear. You taught me that yourself. Rose stepped forward, her tone sharp and defensive. You're overreacting, Mom. It was just an instrument. It's not like we burned the house down. June's gaze flicked toward her. You stole from a child, she said. Then you built a pool with her future. The words sliced through the air. It's for the kids. Rose shot back. Ben and Olivia deserve something too. June's eyes hardened. And Maya doesn't? Or does her silence make her less worthy? Rose's mouth opened but nothing came out. Mr. Carter cleared his throat politely and handed Carol an envelope. You'll want to read this, he said. Carol took the envelope with trembling fingers. What is this? She asked. A notice, Carter said calmly. 60 days to vacate this property. As of today, ownership reverts fully to Mrs. June Harper, per the trust's protective clause. You've forfeited your right to live here. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Carol's hand flew to her chest. Mom, you can't be serious. June's expression didn't change. I'm entirely serious, she said. You sold what wasn't yours and you used stolen money to remodel my house. Actions have consequences. Her father's voice broke. We improved the place. No, June said coldly. You buried decency in the backyard. The air was heavy with silence. Even the kids had stopped splashing, sensing the tension. Maya stood close to Lena, her wide eyes watching every second. June turned to her, her voice softening instantly. Sweetheart, your cello has been recovered, she said. Maya's breath hitched. It's safe now and it's coming home tomorrow. The girl's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She just nodded and whispered, Thank you. June smiled faintly and squeezed her shoulder. You never lost it, my love. It was taken. There's a difference. Around them, faces fell, excuses died, and the family finally saw what it meant to be caught in the truth. Rose's face turned red as whispers spread through the guests. You can't just kick us out, she shouted. June didn't flinch. Watch me. Her calmness made the words heavier than anger ever could. Carol reached for sympathy. Mother, where will we go? June looked at her evenly. Perhaps somewhere smaller, somewhere that doesn't require lies to keep the lights on. Rose crossed her arms. You're doing this because you like Lena more. June smiled faintly. No, dear. I'm doing this because you've mistaken kindness for weakness one time too many. A few people began quietly gathering their things, avoiding eye contact. Lena stood frozen, unsure whether to cry or breathe. For the first time in her life, someone was defending her and her daughter without shouting. Maya leaned closer, whispering, Is great-grandma mad? Lena looked down. She's disappointed, she said softly. And that's worse. June turned to the crowd again. I think that's enough excitement for one afternoon, she said, her tone final. You can all finish your meals elsewhere. The silence deepened as guests began filing out, murmuring thanks and quick goodbyes. By the time the gate closed for the last time, only family remained: June, Lena, Maya, and the ones who'd caused it all. Carol sat down slowly, her shoulders slumped. I never meant to hurt her, she whispered, glancing at Maya. June's voice softened just enough to sound human. Intentions don't erase actions, she said. You wanted comfort. You took it. Now it's time to live with it. Her father buried his face in his hands. Rose tried one last shot. So what? Maya gets everything. June's expression didn't change. No, she gets what was hers to begin with. The rest, she said, nodding toward the pool, belongs to whoever can drain guilt with a garden hose. Rose looked away, tears finally gathering in her eyes. The next day, a delivery truck pulled up to Lena's small apartment. Two men carried in a hard cello case, its surface gleaming under the morning light. June supervised from the doorway like a general overseeing a victory. When they opened the case, Maya gasped softly. The cello looked the same as it always had: warm brown wood, delicate carvings, polished strings, but somehow it felt more alive. She ran her fingertips along its surface like she was tracing history. Then she looked up at June and said, "Can I play?" June smiled. "Of course, darling. It's been waiting for you." That evening, Maya played her first notes again. The sound filled the house, rich and clear, like the room itself had been waiting for this moment. Lena sat beside June on the couch, tears glinting in her eyes. "You didn't just give her a cello back," she said softly. "You gave her something to believe in." June patted her hand. "No, dear. She already had that. We just made sure no one took it again." Outside, the wind rippled through the trees. Inside, the music rose, steady, sure, and free. And for the first time in years, the family finally knew what belonging sounded like.